Hello. Um, some things. I've been rewriting P.S. I Love You. It looks like this now. I've also been generating some alternative visuals for the script, which involves dancing around in front of layers of projector footage and then generally doing things I shouldn't on Premiere Pro. And I guess this comes together to form a kind of alternate picture of P.S. I Love You, where it's been written not by Cecilia Ahern and then a bunch of people in Hollywood, but it's been written by a 22-year-old hysterical girl woman. I am screening episodes of the new script as live readings every Thursday for the next few Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. London time on my project channel. It's called the Postmodern Romcom, and I've got a link in the description. So yeah, come along and watch me make a fool of myself. Yeah, episode 1 is already out, and you can go back and watch that. It's up there. This Thursday I'm doing a kind of post-press release, where I'm kind of explaining why. So check that out. Thursdays at 6:30. I've also been... The last video I uploaded here, I just did a reading of chapter 1 of P.S. I Love You, like the original script, which I have no ownership over. I'm not claiming any. So please don't sue me. I don't know whether anyone found that even vaguely entertaining or useful, but I enjoyed doing it. So here's chapter 2. Chapter 2. Jerry, turn off the light. Holly giggled as she watched her husband undress before her. He danced around the room, performing a striptease, slowly unbuttoning his white cotton shirt with his long, slender fingers. He raised his left eyebrow towards Holly and allowed the shirt to slide from his shoulders, caught it in his right hand and swung it around over his head. Holly giggled again. Turn off the light? What, and miss all this? He grinned cheekily while flexing his muscles. He wasn't a vain man, but he had much to be vain about, thought Holly. His body was strong and perfectly toned. His long legs were muscular from hours spent working out in the gym. At almost 6 foot, he was tall enough to make Holly feel safe when he stood protectively beside her 5'5". Most of all, she loved that when she hugged him, her head would rest neatly just below his chin, where she could feel his breath lightly blowing her hair and tickling her head. Her heart leaped as he lowered his boxers, caught them on the tip of his toes and flung them at her, where they landed on her head. Well, at least it's darker under here anyway, she laughed. He always managed to make her laugh. When she came home, tired and angry after work, he was invariably sympathetic and listened to her complaining. They seldom fought, and when they did, it was over stupid things that amused them, like who had left the porch light on all day, or who had forgotten to set the alarm at night. Jerry finished his striptease and dived into bed. He snuggled up beside her, tucking his freezing cold feet underneath her legs to warm himself. Ah! Jerry, your feet are like ice cubes. Holly knew this position meant he had no intention of budging an inch. Jerry, Holly's voice warned. Holly, he mimicked. Didn't you forget something? No, not that I know of, he answered. The light? Ah, yes, the light, he said sleepily and pretended to snore loudly. Jerry, I had to get out of bed and do it last night, as I remember. Yeah, but you were just standing right beside the switch a second ago. Yes, a second ago, he repeated. Holly sighed. She hated having to get back out of bed when she was nice and snug, step out onto the cold wooden floor and then fumble around in the darkness on the way back to the bed. She tutted. I can't do it all the time, you know, Hol. Someday I might not be here, and then what will you do? Get my new husband to do it, Holly huffed, trying her best to kick his cold feet away from hers. Ha! Or just remember to do it myself before I get into bed. Jerry snorted. Fat chance of that happening, my dear. I'll have to leave a message on the light switch for you just before I go, just so you'll remember. How thoughtful of you, but I would rather you just leave me your money. And a note on the immersion, he carried on, ha, and on the milk carton. You're a very funny man, Jerry. Oh, and on the windows so you don't open them and set the alarm off in the mornings. Hey, why don't you just leave me a list of things for me to do in your will if you think I'll be so incompetent without you? Not a bad idea, he laughed. Fine then, I'll turn off the bloody lights. Holly grudgingly got out of bed, grimaced as she stepped onto the ice-cold floor and switched off the light. She held out her arms in the darkness and slowly began to find her way back to the bed. Hello? Holly, did you get lost? Is there anybody out there? There. Jerry shouted out to the black room. Yes, I'm... Ouch! She yelped as she stubbed her toe against the bedpost. Shit, fuck, bastard, shit, crap. Jerry snorted and sniggered underneath the duvet. Number 2 on my list, watch out for the bedpost. Oh, shut up, Jerry, and stop being so morbid. Holly snapped back at him, cradling her poor foot in her hand. Want me to kiss it better? He asked. No, it's okay, Holly replied sadly. If I could just put them here so I can warm... Ah! Jesus Christ, they're freezing! Which made her laugh again. So that was how the joke about the list came about. It was a silly and simple idea that was soon shared with their closest friends, Sharon and John McCarthy. It was John who had approached Holly in the school corridor when they were just 14 and muttered the words, "My mate wants to know if you'll go out with him." After days of endless discussion and emergency meetings with her friends, Holly eventually agreed. Oh, go on, Holly, Sharon urged. He's such a ride, and at least he doesn't have spots all over his face like John. How Holly envied Sharon right now. Sharon and John had married the same year as Holly and Jerry. Holly was the baby of the bunch at 23. The others were 24. Some said she was too young to be lectured. Some said she was too young and lectured her about how, at her age, she should be travelling the world and enjoying herself. Instead, Jerry and Holly travelled the world together. It made far more sense that way, because then when they weren't together, well, Holly just felt as though she was missing a vital organ from her body. Like her wedding day. Her wedding day was far from the best day of her life. Like most little girls, she had dreamed of a fairy tale wedding with a princess dress and a beautiful, sunny weather in a romantic location surrounded by all who were near and dear to her. She imagined the reception would be the best night of her life, pictured herself dancing with all her best friends, being admired by everyone and feeling special. The reality was quite different. She woke up in her family home to screams of, "I can't find my tie," her father, or "My hair looks shite," her mother, and the best one of all was, "I look like a bloody whale, there's no way I'm going to the bleeding wedding looking like this. I'll be scarlet. Mum, look at the state of me. Holly can find another bridesmaid, because I'm not bleeding going. Oi, Jack, give me back that fucking hairdryer, I'm not finished." That unforgettable statement was made by her younger sister, Kiara, who regularly threw tantrums and refused to leave the house, on the basis of having nothing to wear, regardless of her bursting wardrobe. She was currently living somewhere in Australia with strangers, and the only communication the family had with her was an email from her every few weeks. Holly's family spent the rest of the morning trying to convince Cara how beautiful she was, how she was the most beautiful woman in the world. All the while, Holly silently dressed herself, feeling like shite. Cara eventually agreed to leave the house when Holly's usual calm dad screamed at the top of his voice, and to everyone's amazement, "Cara, this is Holly's bloody day, not yours, and you will go to the wedding and you enjoy yourself. And when Holly walks downstairs, you will tell her how beautiful she looks, and I don't want to hear a peep out of you for the rest of the day." So, when Holly walked downstairs, everyone oohed and ahed, while Cara, looking like a 10-year-old who had just been spanked, tearfully gazed at her with a trembling lip and said, "You look beautiful, Holly." All 7 of them squashed into the limo. Holly, her parents, 3 brothers and Cara sat in terrified silence all the way to the church. The whole day seemed a blur to her now. She barely had time to speak to Jerry, as they were both being pulled in opposite directions to meet Great Aunt Betty from the back arse of nowhere, whom Holly hadn't seen since she was born, and Granduncle Toby from America, who had never been mentioned before but was suddenly a very important member of the family. And nobody told her it would be so tiring either. By the end of the night, Holly's jaw was sore from smiling for photographs, and her feet were killing her from running around all day in very silly little shoes. She desperately wanted to join the large table of her friends, who had been howling with laughter all night, obviously enjoying themselves. Well, for some, she thought. But as soon as Holly stepped into the honeymoon suite with Jerry, all her worries of the day faded, and the point of it all became very clear. Tears once again rolled down Holly's face, and she realised she had been daydreaming again. She sat frozen on the couch, with the phone still off the hook beside her. The hours just seemed to pass her by these days, without knowing what time or day it was. She seemed to be living outside her body, numb to everything but the pain in her heart, in her bones, in her head. She was just so tired. Her stomach grumbled, and she realised she couldn't remember the last time she had eaten. Had it been yesterday? She shuffled into the kitchen, dressed in Jerry's dressing gown and her favourite pink disco diva slippers that Jerry had bought her the previous Christmas. She was his disco diva, he used to say. Always the first on the dance floor, always the last out of the club. Where was that girl now? She opened the fridge and stared in at the empty shelves. Just vegetables and yoghurt long past its sell-by date, leaving a horrible stench in the fridge. She smiled weakly as she shook the milk carton. Empty. Third on his list. Christmas 2 years ago, Holly had gone shopping with Sharon for a dress for the annual ball they attended at the Burlington Hotel. Shopping with Sharon was always a dangerous outing, and John and Jerry had joked about how they would once again suffer through Christmas without any presents as a result of the girls' sprees. They weren't far wrong. Poor neglected husbands, the girls always called them. Holly had spent a disgraceful amount of money in Brown Thomas on the most beautiful white dress she had ever seen. "Shit, Sharon, this will burn a huge hole in my pocket," she said guiltily, biting her lip and running her fingers over the soft material. "Ah, don't worry, Jerry can stitch it up for you," Sharon replied with her infamous cackle. "And stop calling me shit, Sharon. Every time we go shopping you address me as that. If you're not careful I might start taking offence. Buy the damn thing, Holly. It's Christmas after all, the season of giving and all that." "God, you are so evil, Sharon. I'm never shopping with you again. This is like half my month's wages. What am I going to do for the rest of the month? Holly, would you rather eat or look fab?" "I'll take it," Holly said excitedly to the sales assistant. The dress was low cut, which showed off Holly's neat little chest perfectly, and it was split to the thigh, displaying her slim legs. Jerry hadn't been able to take his eyes off her. It wasn't because she looked so beautiful, however. He just couldn't understand how on earth such a little slip of material had cost that much. Once at the ball, Miss Disco Diva once again overindulged in the alcoholic beverages and succeeded in destroying her dress by spilling red wine down her front. Holly tried but failed to hold back her tears while the men at the table drunkenly informed their partners that number 54 on the list prevented you from drinking red wine while wearing an expensive white dress. It was then decided that milk was the preferable beverage, as it wouldn't be visible if spilt on expensive white dresses. Later, when Jerry knocked his pint over, causing it to dribble off the edge of the table onto Holly's lap, she tearfully yet seriously announced to the table and some of the surrounding tables, "Number 55 of the list. Never, ever buy a expensive white dress." So it was agreed, and Sharon awoke from her coma from somewhere underneath the table to applaud and offer moral support. A toast was made after a startled waiter had delivered a tray full of glasses of milk to Holly and to her profound addition to the list. "I'm sorry about your expensive white dress, Holly," John had hiccuped to Holly before falling out of the taxi and dragging Sharon alongside him into their house. Was it possible that Jerry had kept his word and had written the list for her before he died? She had spent every minute of every day with him up until his death, and he had never even mentioned it, nor had she noticed any signs of him writing it. "No, Holly, pull yourself together and don't be stupid," she told herself. She so desperately wanted him back that she was imagining all kinds of crazy things. He wouldn't have. Would he?